Hello, this video is part 1 in a series of 2 videos on effective solo presentations. We'll begin by looking at how to successfully prepare for an academic presentation and how to ensure that the content is both relevant and effectual. We'll begin by looking at how to analyse your question properly to ensure that your presentation is built on a solid foundation and will meet the necessary criteria. We'll then move on to preparing for your presentation, then on to ensuring that your presentation is structured properly, and finally, we will look at how this works in practice by analysing some real examples of academic presentations. A quick summary of what is covered in this video will also be provided at the end. You should tackle a presentation question or assignment brief as you would for any written task that you've been given at university. Firstly, it would be helpful to highlight the key verbs in the task so you're clear as to what you are precisely being asked to do. In this case, you'll note that we're being asked to critically evaluate the anaesthetic and surgical care that a patient in your care received. What this means is that you're going to have to go a lot further than simply describing the anaesthetic and surgical care. For detailed advice on how to be critical, please refer to our critical thinking resource. In short, however, here this presentation will require you not only to describe the anaesthetic and surgical care, but also to analyse this, using a wide variety of sources, exploring, for example, maybe the strengths and limitations of the type of anaesthetic and surgical care that you choose to explore. You will also be expected to come to some kind of conclusion at the end of your presentation about this. It is also beneficial to focus on keywords for research to help guide your literature search and focus your attention on what the question is asking of you. In this case, keywords would be anaesthetic and surgical care. It's also important, you'll note, to make sure that you refer to a patient that you have cared for during placement during the presentation. The categories stated at the end of the question are also very important to focus on to ensure that you choose an example that will meet the necessary criteria. Once you have engaged with the question, you may wish to simplify it or take some basic notes reminding yourself what your key verbs require you to do, and start making some decisions regarding which patient you might wish to discuss and also which category they fall into. This kind of planning will help you to enter the research stage with a much clearer focus. The time and effort that you spend on the research stage should be equal to that of a written assignment. If you find that you struggle with literature searching, then the academic librarian team offers support in this area. They can help you identify your information needs and relevant sources, create a search strategy, use information resources and databases effectively, and manage your research and keep up to date. If you click on the PowerPoint file of this video available on our website, you can click on the links there to go directly to the library's booking pages or web pages for further advice. It is important when preparing for your presentation that you are thorough. For example, when you're in the note-making stage, make sure you're taking full references as you will need them later. Just as referencing your sources accurately is important in written work, so too is it important to reference accurately in presentations. You should include references within your visual aids when referring to any work that is not your own. Just as you would for a written assignment, you should also include a full reference list at the end of your PowerPoint, Prezi or handout. We offer support for referencing in the Learn Development Centre. We have a web resource, which again I've included the link here to on the video. If you access the PowerPoint file of this video available on our website, you can link straight through to this. We also offer one-to-one support for referencing, and I'll put some more details later on in the video about how you can book an appointment for one-to-one support. Remember also, when you are preparing for presentation, that you're not writing a script to be read aloud. Diagrams, short clips, images, and so on will help to make your information more accessible and ultimately more engaging for your audience. The way you structure your presentation is one of its most important features. As with a building, any piece of academic work with a weak structure will collapse, no matter how well you know your subject or how much wider reading you've done. The main goal of any presentation is clarity, and the one way you can achieve this is by planning a clear structure which in its broadest sense will contain an introduction, main body and conclusion. Your introduction should inform the audience of your objective and what you intend to cover. The main body of the presentation should follow a logical sequence. Your presentation will likely divide into a set number of main parts with related subpoints, allowing a clear line of thought, always related to question, to unfold. Finally, the presentation should have a clear conclusion. It shouldn't just stop abruptly. It should clearly summarise the main issues covered and state any conclusions drawn as a result of this. From here, you would then make your reference list visible to the audience and may also wish to ask the audience if they have any questions. Almost all academic presentations would benefit from the use of visual aids. Two of the most commonly used are Microsoft's PowerPoint and Prezi. You must be careful with these, however, as if they are used ineffectively, they can actually hinder an otherwise good presentation. Here at the Learn Development Centre, we have developed resources in order to help you with using PowerPoint and Prezi effectively. You can click through for our guidance on both of these on the link shown on the screen here. However, you would need to visit the PowerPoint version of this video in order to get the working link. Alternatively, you can book a one-to-one appointment with our ICT skills tutor in order to get one-to-one support in how to use either of the software shown above. Let's look now at an example of a student presentation on the topic of pain and consider how successfully it meets the success criteria we've discussed previously. The full version of this video is available in the presentation section on our LDC webpage under the subheading Sample Presentations.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about pain. So pain.
You'll notice that there's no introduction beyond simply stating that it's going to be about pain. There's no background to the topic given, there's no indication as to the importance or relevance of the topic, and there's no clear aim of what the presentation is going to do.
It's something that we all feel differently, so you and you would feel it differently, and you can see my wee dog here's in a bit of pain. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So there's different types of pain, so we can have transient pain. And this is very brief pain, and it usually causes a withdrawal reflex, meaning severe pain is prevented. We have acute pain, and this lasts longer and tissue damage is worse. This pain stays until the tissue has time to repair itself and causes a change in the body's behaviour, which helps with healing. Chronic pain, this is prolonged pain, and this type serves no useful purpose. Somatic pain, this is pain which is felt in the skin, muscles and joints. It's pain which is usually well localised, i.e. the part of the body which feels the pain is the part which is injured. Visceral pain.
While there is some semblance of order to the information she's presenting, it's of course not completely random. The information doesn't really build a clear argument. It almost sounds as if she's simply reading a series of notes on the topic of pain.
This is pain which affects organs deep within the body and is not well localised. Where was I? Oh yeah, visceral pain, I said about that. Referred pain, this is pain which is felt in an area of the body which is not affected. This means that the organs which are affected send a signal to a different area of the body, causing the pain stimulation to be sent to the brain and make the individual feel like pain is in the area but it isn't. For example, when someone has a heart attack and they feel a shooting pain in the left arm. So nociceptors, these are our pain receptors, so they're found all over the body. We also have nerve fibres, and we have different types. So we have A beta, A delta, and C fibres. We'll just move on from that. So they have different characteristics. So A beta. sorry, someone's just desperate getting contact. So characteristics, so A beta fibres, so these are large, they have a myelin sheath and carry messages quickly. They're responsible for fine touch and distinguish between different textures. A delta, these are medium sized, they also have a myelin sheath and send messages at medium speed. They're responsible for crude touch and also immediate pain. C fibres, which are the smallest, they're non-myelinated.
Here we can see that she's clearly researched the topic and found plenty of relevant material, but there's no reference to any of this. Even when referring to tables such as the one she has displayed on the screen, there is no credit given to any author.
So our pain pathways, these involve the brain and the spine, and that's how we feel pain, is through these different areas.
Hopefully by now you've also noticed the ineffectiveness of the visual aids. Not only are the fonts and colours poorly chosen, you can hardly read them because of this. The images chosen also add nothing to further the argument. They're simply used to fill space. A scientific diagram here of the brain would have been much more appropriate than the cartoon version that she has chosen, and she would then have been able to refer to this during her presentation. And finally, there's no conclusion here at all. That's Me Done offers no summary for the audience, nor demonstrates that any kind of aim has been met. It ultimately seems unprofessional and suggests a lack of knowledge and thorough preparation. You'll also note that there's no reference list included at the end, nor are the audience asked if they have any questions on the topic. Let's look now at a second example. This features the same student on the same topic as the video we saw previously. But let's see how able she is to successfully meet the success criteria this time.
Hi, I'm Kerry, and today the aim of this presentation is to talk about pain and the involvement of the nervous system within. So pain is a very...
While the introduction is still very brief, she does take the time this time to introduce herself, and she also states the aim of the presentation clearly, which vastly improves this to the previous example we saw.
very unique thing that we all experience. Everyone experiences it differently, and that's how a lot of the time we can say people are more tolerable to pain than other people, and it's how we feel when we feel pain. It's all different. There's many different types of pain as well, and there's different stimuli that can cause it, and that has an effect on how we feel about it. So there are many different types of pain that we can feel. An example of this is transient pain. This is felt over a very short period of time, and it usually causes a withdrawal reflex. So if you're told your hand over something really hot, and then you pull your hand away because it's starting to get sore, that's your withdrawal reflex, and it's a transient pain that causes that. And we can feel pain for a longer period of time, and this is called acute pain, and it's usually due to there being more substantial tissue damage. So if you were to break a bone or sprain an ankle, you feel pain for quite a long period after it, it usually stays there until the tissue has repaired itself completely. Or we can have bouts of pain that are prolonged, this is called chronic pain. It's usually not very useful, and it's just there, there's nothing causing this pain, it's just reoccurring, and that is chronic pain. We can also have somatic pain, and this is very localised, so you feel it within your joints and your muscles. So if you've been at the gym, you've worked out really sore afterwards and quite tight, that is somatic pain that causes that. And lastly, we can have visceral pain, and this is pain which is felt within our organs. So it's deep down within, and it's really hard to pinpoint where this pain is actually coming from. So in experiencing pain and how we feel it, it's all down to these things called pain receptors, which are all over our body.
You'll notice here that the argument is building more clearly here than in the previous example. She begins with a broad definition of pain, and then moves into the specifics, each clearly divided into headed sections with clear subsections within. Her argument is also made clearer to the audience with effective use of examples to illustrate the point she is making.
They're also called nociceptors, so they can be found just underneath their skin, which you can see in the top diagram there. And these register pain, so the initial feeling of pain is through these receptors, they register that you're feeling it, and they then cause the signal to be passed to nerve fibres, and it travels to your brain, and that's how we get a pain response. And there's 3 different fibres, so there's an A beta, A delta, and C fibres, which can be seen in the diagram at the bottom here, and each of these have different characteristics. So our A beta fibres, which we can see here just at the top,
Notice also how she uses the images to illustrate the point she makes. She actively refers to the images as she presents, which justifies their inclusion within the PowerPoint. Hopefully you've also noticed the difference in clarity of the slides compared to the previous example. While the video here perhaps isn't the greatest in showing them at their best quality, there's still a significant difference in the clarity of font, layout and appropriateness of the colours that she has used.
The largest fibre, they have the largest diameter and they're protected by a myelin sheath and they send signals really quickly and they're involved in fine touch. So when you touch something and you can register what it feels like, so if you were to touch velvet and then you were to touch something that was really rough and you can tell the difference between it, that's due to these fibres. We then have A delta fibres, which are just in the middle here, and they're medium-sized fibres. They also have a myelin sheath that protects them, and they send signals at a medium speed, so it's not super quick, but it's not really slow either, and they're involved in crude touch. So this means like when you touch something and you know you're touching it, that is crude touch, but you can't tell how it feels. That's what these fibres are involved in. And it's also involved in the pain response. So this is the immediate pain response that the delta fibres are involved in. And we then have our C fibres, which are right at the bottom here, and these are our smallest fibres, and they have no myelin sheath on them, which you
It is absolutely clear to the audience that this student has thoroughly researched her topic. She is able to speak confidently and with the required depth. This could have been improved, however, by including references of the sources she's consulted within the PowerPoint.
can see from the diagram, and these send signals really slowly, and they're also involved in the pain response, and they cause a kind of throbbing pain. So initially when you first feel pain and it's really sore, like a sharp pain, that's our delta fibres that are responsible for that, and then our C fibres is the throbbing you get afterwards. So like if you were to stub your toe, that horrible feeling afterwards, it lasts for a while, that's our C fibres that cause that to happen. So in our pain pathway, there's two different pathways that are involved. Firstly, there is the ascending pathway, which you can see in red in this diagram here, and it involves all our nerves, our spine and our brain. So firstly, we get the pain reception through our nociceptors, which for example could be underneath the skin, and this causes the nociceptors to become excited, and we get an action potential which is passed between these pain receptors onto our nerve fibres, and our nerve fibres then travel to the base of our spine to an area called the dorsal horn, and from there it travels upper spine to an area of the brain called the sensory cortex, and this is where we register that we feel pain. So that's our ascending pathway. Then from there we have our descending pathway, which starts within the brain and it works in the opposite way, so from the brain back down to wherever you felt pain. So it starts in the motor cortex, so we get crossover between the sensory and motor cortex of information about the pain, and then we get a signal sent from our motor cortex back down our spine, along our nerve fibres into the area that we feel pain, and this is how we get a response towards pain. So we get inhibitory neurotransmitters that are released, and these cause the response. So if it was you're holding your hand over something hot and you pull it away, that's a withdrawal response. Or if you break a bone and you don't walk on that leg anymore, that is all a response to pain, and it's all different depending on the stimulus that's caused it in the first place. So in conclusion, even though we think pain's a really horrible thing and it's not the best thing to experience ever, it's actually really protective towards our body, because it stops us from causing ourselves further pain. That's how it works between our two different pathways. So thank you for listening. If anyone has any questions, feel free.
The student takes the time to clearly mark the end of the presentation, summarising her findings in order to reach a final conclusion. This presentation also benefits from the student offering the audience the chance to ask questions at the end. This will allow any points to be further developed or clarified. Let's summarise briefly now what has been covered in this video. When preparing for a presentation, ensure that you analyse the question thoroughly. Look for key verbs to guide you and to help you to structure your response. Focus also on key terms to guide your research. Secondly, remember that your literature search and research stage should be as thorough as for any written assignment. Remember, the library can help with literature searches if you have difficulty in this area. You should also remember that you need to reference all relevant sources, and they should be referenced using the GCU Harvard British Standard. You should also include a full reference list at the end of your PowerPoint Prezi or handout. Ensure also that your presentation follows a clear structure. At the very basic level, it should have a clear introduction, main body with divided sub-areas, and conclusion. Finally, make sure that your visual aids are clear and that they are working to enhance your presentation. Every image, diagram, table, etc. included must have a purpose and also help to further your argument. If it doesn't, don't include it. If you need further guidance on presentation skills, or indeed on any ICT skills linked to presentation, you can book a one-to-one appointment with an academic development tutor by visiting our community page on GCU Learn. The link is shown here, but as before with all links, please visit the PowerPoint version of this video to get the direct link through. Alternatively, you could attend our drop-in session, which runs Wednesdays between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. in A107. Part 2 in the Effective Solo Presentation video series is on delivery and is available on our LDC community page.